speaking about.
Okay, my apologies. 1 second.
We want to break it out. We need to break out this amount that you have here for personnel services. We need to have what you currently are paying for personnel services, excluding those vacant positions.
So the vacant positions currently, we have for unclassified vacant, we have that salaries total 143,800. Classified vacant 42,621,000.
Okay, good. And now just the fringe for those to accompany those.
If you give me a second, I will add those up. I don't have the fringe grouped.
Yeah, we would need to get them broken out, those vacant positions, for fiscal year 2026.
When you say broken out, you want it line by line, like
No,
vacant position?
your aggregate amount for your vacant position, the personnel cost, okay, for your vacant position that you're proposing or you would recommend for 2026, the personnel cost, the vacant positions, the fringe benefits that will go along with those vacant positions for fiscal year 2026. That's what I'm asking. Are you clear?
No problem. Sure. Yes,
Okay,
I heard you.
I'll
have
come
that for you.
Do you have that, or do you want me to come back?
I have the personnel numbers, which is what I just provided. I just need to add the fringe
1 minute.
together. I actually just have the fringe line by line.
Okay, so this is just, you go ahead and do that and then come back on the chair's time. Now, my question is, thank you so much for your answers. My question now for your personnel, have you received all of your allotment? How much of your allotment you've received? Ms. Kwashi.
Yeah, not,
Yes, we have received our allotment.
And what is the amount you have received thus far? Have you received your third quarter?
Yes.
30 seconds.
Total allotment received to date.
I will get that for you. I submitted it to the post auditor. General funds, to date, 42,051,612, and
612.
the indirect costs, 360,000.
Okay, and this indirect cost, this is not necessarily from
Time.
any, Mr. Chairman, I'll just wrap up. This indirect cost, this is not necessarily from any federal monies, just indirect costs that you charge a different agency to perform services, correct?
Yes, through OMB.
Okay, all right. I don't have any further question, but I do look forward to hearing the response from the Office of Collective Bargaining regarding the breakout with their vacant position.
Thank you very much, Senator Joseph. OCB, you have the information ready? I still need some time.
yes, I do. So the vacant positions, the personnel portion, it is 186,421, and fringe, it is 90,941.
Point of information, Senator Viere.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to point out that it's in the post-audit report on page 6. Personnel listing is broken out for vacant positions, salaries, and fringe by each position.
Can I add something to that about the post-audit report? If you look at the bottom where it says, at the same page 6, where it says unclassified vacant, that should be classified. And where it says classified vacant, it should be unclassified.
Correct.
The totals are just the totals are correct, they're just in the wrong places.
That's one of the reasons.
Thank you very much. Senator Potter, you're recognized for your testimony on this, for your 5 minutes at this time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to one and all. Good afternoon to the staff and management, executive team at the Office of Collective Bargaining, as well as my old stomping ground, the Division of Personnel. I wanted to start off with the Office of Collective Bargaining. Attorney Springett, I wanted to ask you, because when I look at your testimony and just the realities of being chief negotiator, isn't it time for the structure of the Office of Collective Bargaining to be changed? I think it's like you're set up to failure, to fail. I think the way the structure is, at best, you can only tread water. You have one person negotiating, which is the chief. You have 33 bargaining units. You have 32 collective bargaining agreements, 17 expired, 15 current. Probably more than half of those that are current are going to expire any day. You have 367 pending cases. You managed to close 9% from October 2024 to 2025. And I know your team and yourself, you are competent individuals, so it's no strike on you, but I think it's the structure is really designed for failure. It is. When would it be possible for you to put a dent on these 367 pending cases, and every day another one is added to the rules? My question is, isn't it time for us to revisit the structure as it currently exists and recommend some other system that will be more effective? Maybe having multiple persons who can negotiate so that, I mean, we don't constantly find ourselves behind the 8 ball, paying retroactive monies. All of that contributes to where we are today.
Josh Springer, Chief Negotiator, Office of Collective Bargaining. Senator, I'm open to reviewing the structure and taking suggestions on whether the structure should be changed. A few years ago, I believe it was 2023's budget hearing, I raised this same issue. Since Act 4440 was passed in 1980, a lot has changed about the landscape pertaining to collective bargaining in the territory. Senator, you said that the Division of Personnel is your stamping ground, but don't forget OCB as well.
OCB also, you're correct.
So you're familiar with the structure as well as the how things were then. There were less contracts. The contracts were much smaller. Years ago, I remember the contracts being the size of a booklet, so half of a 8 by 11 page. Now we have contracts that are over 100 pages long. There were about maybe 2 handfuls of unions back then, or bargaining units. Now we have 3 times that. And the structure of OCB, you're correct, has not changed. At that time, when I testified, or my assistant Julia Thomas testified on my behalf, we recommended that it's time that the legislature also look at Act 4440 and consider amendments that would allow for some increases pending negotiations. For example, that the governor could grant some type of base increase until negotiations can be completed, because of course negotiations includes a lot of other things other than salaries. The only response I got to that was one suggestion that there be some type of deputy chief negotiators that would have to then get my approval on whatever negotiations they do. But the reality is, again, if I'm the final authority, then there will be some delay. And with the number of bargaining units and the expectation by the other parties of certain amounts that we may not have, it takes time. You know, if I could say yes to every proposal,
1 minute.
maybe I'd finish one every day. But like I said, I'm open to that. Each time we negotiate, or each year, we have looked at our structure and our procedures to see if we can change things. We've done so in some instances where the unions are open to changes. And in some instances, we have to continue as it is until we can consider other options. But I thank you for the question and the suggestion.
Thank you, Attorney Springett, and we definitely have to get together to come up with some meaningful, viable solutions. Else we're just going to keep doing the same thing over and over again, and we can't expect anything different if we don't make some changes. At least take a risk. So we'll work
30
together on
seconds.
this. I wanted to ask you, Director Richardson, about the size of government. I know right now you mentioned in your testimony that we have 5,887 employees. I want to get, and the average salary is $55,219, and I really appreciate the charts that you provided. Very useful information. Does the Director of Personnel, are you actively or periodically engaged in assessing or determining whether
Time.
or not that number, that 5,000 number, whatever it is a viable number to effectively do the work of government? Should it be higher? Should it be lower? Based on what we're doing now, is it effective?
Thank you for that, Senator. That's a kind of a loaded question, but I will say that, right now, that's one of the things that I'm working on as far as doing the updates to these job descriptions. Some of them were very old and antiquated, and we're kind of bringing them up to industry standards right now. So as you can see, we did the breakout there. Also, too, one of the things that I'm promoting to the other agency heads is that COVID was really the time for us to do a real restructuring of the government. And with the advancements that we've made in technology and the changes that we've made to some of the functions and the automation, now is the time to look and take a look at your staff, the way you're organized, and how you can utilize and make changes to the structure of your organizations based on how your functions have changed due to automation. In addition to, we're pushing some introduction of AI. We're currently using that within the division of personnel. I do know BIT has a pilot going on right now with some various agencies with the introduction of AI. So that there now also eliminates some of the functions and roles and responsibilities. So that is something that we're pushing for you to take a look within your own agency to see how you can upgrade and eliminate certain positions that may be redundant.
Do you think you have the proper manpower to accomplish something like that, or would that require some sort of like a comprehensive workforce analysis? Would that require some sort of external consultants?
It definitely would. I do not have the staffing to do such a to take that on.
Okay. Thank you very much for your response. Thank you for your flexibility, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Potter, for your line of questions. Some time back I had proposed legislation to allow for a 1% increase on anniversary automatically, pending negotiation occurring, and almost run me out of town in that respect. But again, because of the long-winded, where individuals are so delayed in getting to the negotiating table, at least they had something to look forward to. And the anniversary automatically at 1%. I mean, it wasn't significant, but it was something that at least we could have definitely budgeted for because we knew what the number would look like on an annual basis. But again, changes are always hard to come by, and like you say, if you're not willing to take that risk, then it's very difficult. Coming to you, Senator Joseph, on that point, it's difficult for us to do that. I wanted to ask you, Director, because I agree that we have done you have done a good job in terms of the demographical breakout of the workforce, and it's quite glaring that we have 2-to-1 in terms of the female versus male which means that a lot of, you could see it in the different departments. police department, fire department, and all those places where you're seeing that it's no longer gender specific and that the females are really, but isn't that some of that tied to the census as well? In terms of, have you done a comparison between our census report versus what you're seeing in those numbers?
Actually, no, we have not done a comparison.
You have not, okay.
No.
And tell me at the high level, when you have developed this demographical information, what have that indicated to you? What obviously you had a reason in doing this because obviously you wanted to see what was going on within government, and those demographical information was critical. But what was the indication derived from that breakout? What's the lesson learned?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that, from the first time when I first came to Division of Personnel, I noticed the amount of data that we're sitting on. And that's the purpose of doing these charts, is to be able to provide this type of data so that we can use it to make certain decisions moving forward. Yes. So we utilize that on a regular basis, just, as it comes to recruitment, to how we assist certain agencies. So we utilize that data just overall in pretty much everything that we do.
No, the data is good. I'm just saying, if there is some motive behind of now gathering that data, and what do you do with it? How do you mine the data once you have it? How are you using that? But again, it's for policy decisions, I guess.
Policy, but also comparison over the years and trends and projections.
Very well. Senator Joseph, you had a point of information?
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to just follow up on one question for OCB, since I don't have the post-audit before me and we're just doing some trust and verification. Kindly indicate for us the other services. I see that there is a reduction in the amount that you were funded last year, fiscal year, by $57,694. Tell me why did you reduce that cost? You having a reduction in the amount of other services that you utilize?
Not necessarily. Both of our offices are in need of copiers. Our budget ceiling remained the same, so we had to do a bit of a shift to be able to accommodate the cost for the new copiers in the budget, hence the reduction in other services.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for that explanation.
Thank you very much, Senator Joseph. Senator Vieira, you recognize for your 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I like the average salary by department that was done. It really shows you what the various departments are making. And in looking at it, I was just kind of shocked that Sports Park and Recreation average salary $38,000. By far, they're the lowest department in government. The closest to them is agriculture, which is at $47,221, and then Public Works at $48,812. Have you been able to determine how many employees are actually making less than $35,000? The number?
Yes, roughly. 1 second. So we're looking at over just a little bit more than 679 individuals, just a little bit over that. That's not inclusive of that $34,000 to $35,000 range. So,
Okay, so the 679 is less than 34. 34 or less?
correct.
34 or 35?
34.
So you then run an analysis of 35.
In that next range, you have about 66 people in there.
Okay. Okay.
And also, I just want to add that we did call around to some of the other agencies to try to get some of those numbers as well. And when I say other agencies, I'm talking like lottery, Port Authority, taxi cab, and you're looking at about 353 individuals within those agencies that are making the 35 and under.
Okay, so overall, probably 1,000 within government.
About 1,053.
Okay, thank you so much. You're able to determine the financial impact?
Not fully, and
Okay.
and the reason I want to say that is because the data that we used was pulled in mid-May. We've processed a lot of salary changes since then, but also too because we're running retro, you have to activate your inactives. So we can't really pull some definite information at this time.
Okay, you also have some contract negotiation that is going to change the number of individuals under 35,
Correct.
like 911 operators and some of
Correct.
those others. Okay. Which collective bargaining, which union represents custodian workers and food service workers?
Josh Springer, Chief Negotiator, Office of Collective Bargaining, SIU Masters.
Okay, there.
Well, custodial workers, it depends on what agency, but kitchen workers, SIU Masters.
And they're presently in negotiation?
Yes, SIU Masters is scheduled for July.
Or they haven't come to the table yet?
No, we started already. We're resuming negotiations.
Okay, and when did their contract expire?
SIU expired, one moment. SIU Masters expired in September 30th, 2023. September 30th, 2023.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, personnel, you have I think it's $1 million increase in personnel. What is that increase? How many vacant positions included there? Yeah, your variance is 1,091,729. I'm looking at the post audit, page 2. The recommendation for personnel this year is 4,109,545. And in Act 8916, it was 3,017,816. Is there a $1 million increase?
There is not a $1 million increase because this number does not include the GVI fellows information. And it also did not include...
Okay, so one second. Which number don't include the GPI fellows?
The 2025.
Oh, that was, okay.
Yeah.
That was broken out as a separate line item.
Yeah.
Okay. And the line item for the fellows was?
931.
It was 964,886.
Okay, so it's only really like $100,000 increase. Correct?
Yes, Senator.
Okay, and that would allow you to fill those vacant positions.
Yes, Senator.
Okay, now I saw next part in your charts that you had 2,945 referrals,
Yes.
and that's a significant number.
Yes.
But and those were referrals for interviews or for exactly what? Break it down.
So when
1 minute.
that would be referrals to the various agencies to conduct interviews. Yes.
Okay, and out of that 2,945 referrals, 126 employees were hired, new hires?
So it would not only be the new hires, but it could also be the rehires as well,
Which was like...
or transfers between departments or within as well.
Okay, that would bring it up to
30
less
seconds.
than 200?
Correct.
Okay, so that's 10%, less than 10% of individuals that apply for jobs that are actually able to be unloaded onto the government. What's the reason there? Just a lot of individuals not meeting qualifications?
It's a combination of things because you also have individuals that are applying to multiple jobs as well.
Okay.
And then you have, of course, like, for example, if I use a
So the
receptionist.
2,945
Correct.
really could be like 1,200 because you're applying for
Correct.
2-3 different jobs. Okay. Quickly, Mr. Ram, I'm glad that you're reconciling that retro data. I'm really glad that you're doing that because when you get that back up, then individuals will be able to go on the website and see what they're actually owed. And I don't think the last amount was reconciled. So we really need to have factual data there because people are believing they're getting X amount. And then we say, well, you're going to get 14%. And then they look at the wrong amount, they calculate 14%, and they think the check is wrong. So if we could get that really reconciled, it'll save a lot. And I don't know if it's possible to reconcile it with showing them how much they got, how much they received before, because a lot of times they're forgetting that they got a check and then they're saying, I didn't get this, I didn't get that. So if you could really be able to produce a template that shows the 3-4 different retroactives that got the total that was owed and now what is left back, I think that would save all of us a tremendous amount of time.
Yes.
And I'm going to ask a question again if you got the information, but before I ask that, I think Department of Finance did put out a press release, a PSA, in reference to Social Security and Medicare that was taken out of retirees' checks. And it's a short, very short PSA, if one of you guys could find it, and put it on the record for all the individuals that are asking the question and texting us so that we could be provided with that information. Now, looking in the system, well, what are the amounts that you found for the NOPAs and the pay? Governor, Lieutenant Governor, you said you're going to look at it and get it.
So I want to reiterate that based on what the same numbers that I said on the 23rd, the total amount is $201,692 for the governor, lieutenant governor, $176,642.55.
Okay, and those are different numbers to what you said at the last meeting. Kind of last meeting we were calculating, I think a 42,000 increase for the governor, according to the compensation report, which carried it up to 192. So this is actually a $51,692 increase and a $51,642 for the lieutenant governor. Well, thank you for putting the information on the record.
And if I could just add to that, based on the compensation, they did the first term, so salary went from 150 to the 192,088.
And
then the second term, you added that 5%. And that's how you got to that 201,692.
Okay.
And the effective date.
I'm not going to ask you anymore.
Wait, I want to put on the record.
Put the effective date.
The
I'll say
effective
something
date
myself.
was changed to January 13th, 2025.
Any significances to the 13th?
No.
Because I know the report came down on August 13th. So I'm just trying to see if there's any significance. I'm not going to ask you about the other parts of the compensation report in which whether or not the report was valid in 90 days expired after the general election. And there's also a portion of the same legislation that states that any increase would be after the next general election, and the next general election would have been 26, based on a particular report. So, but I guess the court will figure out all of that as we move on. So thank you so much for your answers.
You finished? Thank you, Senator Viale. Point of information, Senator James.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Earlier when you said that the salaries were implemented, does implemented mean that they are receiving those funds in their check?
Correct.
And no one refused the raise?
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
And point of information, Senator Frederick.
Director Richardson, can you please let us know where they got the funding from?
So it would come from the respective office, vacancy savings or whatever they already had in their approved budget.
Thank you very much.
And Director Richardson, were they also paid retroactively for since going back to January the 13th?
Yes, yes, retroactive to January 13th, 2025.
But point of information, Senator DeGraff.
Thank you. Director, I asked that question, was any retro pay to the governor, lieutenant governor specific? You said no.
So the NOPA action is effective January 13, 2025. In order to process the retro, they would have had to have put in a miscellaneous. I am not aware if that was done or not.
So how much retro? Because that was my question. Were they paid? Yes. And if so, how much? Was the question I asked, you said no. So how much?
That would have to come from the Department of Finance if that was actually processed.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. My final question is, obviously, we have seen a number of separation from government to include resignation, retirement. Are you doing exit NOPRs still? Are you doing exit interviews, I meant, on the way out?
We have provided a template for all HRs to use as far as the exit interview is concerned.
Do you have a sense of what's the trend conversation regarding individuals leaving government?
It varies. Some people get other opportunities. They get an offer for increase in salary. It varies over the course of the time that I've seen. Even to maybe sometimes it's not a good fit, the agency that they're in. One of the trends that I am seeing, though, is that we do have a lot of younger individuals who are coming into the government and are leaving before they're vested.
I mean that they're leaving like 9 years,
Correct.
right before that they hit the 10-year mark.
Correct.
All right. I'll give you, let me go to the chief negotiator. This time I'll give her 30 seconds to wrap up, and then I'll come to you, Director Richardson.
Good day, Senators. I thank you for the opportunity to present our budget in the amount of $1,263,391 for fiscal year 2026. I appreciate the questions and the suggestions regarding the structure of our office. OCB will continue to do everything possible to meet our mandate, but we're open to any changes that could help to streamline and improve our service to the people. And I thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Richardson.
Good afternoon, good evening. On behalf of the Division of Personnel and the Brian Roach administration, I thank you for the opportunity to testify before you today to defend our FY 2026 budget of just over $63.3 million as we continue to provide the services to the government of the Virgin Islands. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We also look forward to the refresh of the information so that the post-audit could complete and redo the current post-audit report with the correct numbers. Thank you once again to the Office of Collective Bargaining as well as Division of Personnel. We also had the Department of Labor before us today, Public Service Commission. I want to thank all of my colleagues for their work today, central staff, my staff, and everyone involved in today's hearing. Tomorrow is session, so I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. The Committee of Budget, Appropriations and Finance is hereby adjourned. God bless.